What would the world look like if people felt like they mattered? Welcome to the Lead with Love podcast, exploring what it means to lead with love in business and life. I'm your host, Jada Selner, and in this show, I'll share meaningful conversations to help you, the creative, the entrepreneur, the world changer, reach more people, go after your dreams, and serve your community with love. I appreciate you joining me. Now let's get cozy and start today's episode. I am so excited about today's episode. So I have a quick question for you. Have you ever found yourself wondering if you have what it takes to step into that next level of leadership in your business, especially when it comes to growing your community and growing your team while you're raising a family? So if you want a real and honest and raw conversation about the behind the scenes of entrepreneurship, this episode is for you. So you're listening to episode 119 of the Lead with Love podcast. And in today's conversation, I get cozy with my dear friend and fellow community builder, Jill Stanton. Now, Jill is the co-founder of Screw the 9 to 5. And she co-founded it with her husband, Josh, and he is such an awesome, super smart guy. And they've created their own little slice of the internet where they help entrepreneurs build more attention to their brands, make more money in their business, and get more out of their life through simple strategies, how-tos, and those behind-the-scenes glimpses into the realities of building a business online. And one thing that I'm super excited about is that Josh and Jill will actually be contributing guest mentors to the Love Over Metrics incubator. So if you've been wanting to learn more about how to create organic traffic sources, as well as membership sites and just building an authentic community online, then you definitely want to check out Love Over Metrics. Just go to loveovermetrics.com to request your application. I'd love to learn more about you and your business. So some things that Jill and I talk about are the one skill that Jill is working on right now that is helping her become a more effective leader when it comes to building her team and how to show love to others. And also what proved to Jill that money could be made online and the important role that her husband Josh played in this. So if you have a business partner or you're thinking about going in business with your actual partner, then you'll get some helpful insight from this. She also talks about the ways that she serves her new Screw the 9 to 5 community in a way that's more aligned with her business. And I also get her to share some pre and post what her day in the life looked like having a business without a baby, and then what a day looks like post baby. So being a mom myself, I just get so curious about that before and after dynamic. And then Jill shares Josh and Jill's first launch and the powerful lessons she took from it. And if you've ever had that fear of crickets, where no one shows up, no one responds, no one's listening, you're definitely going to want to listen to this part in the episode because it is so good. And she also shares the one thing that they do every time before they launch any new product, which is so, so helpful. And it's something that I personally do as well. And Jill also shares her experiences in running a membership community. This is something that interests me because I'm definitely exploring this path. And so she just gets really real and shares some things that surprised her along the way and some shifts that she's choosing to make now to establish more boundaries in her life. And I know we can all use a little bit more boundaries in our life. So if you want the full show notes to the episode, just go over to jadaselner.com/119. And I am so excited to dive into today's conversation. So let's get started. Hi, Jill.
Hey, Jada. Thanks for having me. I'm so pumped to dive in with you.
Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like this is one of those fly on the wall conversation with friends, like behind the scenes.
Yeah. All I'm missing is wine, but like, I always love chatting with you because your voice feels like a warm hug. And I always walk away from conversations with you being like, I feel like I just talked to my therapist. So
oh, I love it.
I'm ready to dive in.
Awesome. And I always love to share just like how we connected. And we first like met in person, hugged each other last year, right? In Carmel.
Yeah. I feel like I probably took you off guard because I was like, oh my God, yes, I've been dying to meet this chick for forever. And I was like, hi, can we talk? Hi, do you have a few minutes to talk? Hi, Jada, can we chat at some point? Like I was just a stage 5 clinger with you. So thanks for putting up with that and actually liking me afterwards.
So I totally liked you afterwards. So we met at Jason Gaynard's Mastermind Talks last year in Carmel, where Phoebe, Nikki, and we were all slumber party roommates. And then we got to hang out with you and it was so much fun, but there's not many opportunities where you get to go to an event where there's so many entrepreneurs and feeling like you can kind of just like let loose and have really cool, authentic conversations. I had hot tub conversations, after hours conversations. Yeah. So I feel there's nothing better than meeting people in real life. So I'm happy that we were able to squeeze each other in person. And then I'm like, yes.
I know. I almost wanted to ditch my husband as my roomie and come room with you girlies.
Oh my gosh. You would have had so much fun. We like cried, we ate cupcakes, we pulled cards. It was
like, that sounds like legitimately the girliest hangout ever. And I want some of that action.
Yes. So let's make plans for that to happen in the future. Well, I'm so excited. And also, we got to see you in Vancouver. It was our first visit as a family. And that was a lot of fun to have our hubbies connect. And
yeah, that was great. And your hubby gave us the sweetest CD of kids music. I'm so pumped. Once I get my car back, I didn't lose it. It's just being shipped across the country right now. Then I get to play it.
Yes, yes. So, I always like to start off with a super fun, big, deep question. And that is, what does leading with love mean to you? And how do you put love into practice? And I know you're a community builder at heart. So
yeah. I think especially with team, for me, that's where I'm really trying to improve my leadership skills is listening. So I feel like that's one of the most loving things you can do for someone is to listen when they actually, dive deep and bare their soul. If you just brush over it and you're like, okay, great. So back to the topic at hand. Instead, if you just listen to them and show empathy, I feel like that is one of the best ways you can show them love. And then on a grand scale, when it comes to your customers or your audience, I love the John Acuff quote where he says, care about what the people you care about. And that to me is a really great way to show your audience how much you love them.
Yeah. And I'm curious for you with team, because I think that's a big thing when you're growing your business, you're scaling and you have this team and they become this family. Has there been a time in growing your business where you weren't really listening to your team?
Yeah, totally. I'm sure. we've been through the ringer with team. I feel like, because we didn't really know how to run one when we were first starting out, so I've definitely been that person who's gotten frustrated or short-tempered or not listened to them or not taken their advice or opinions into account. And so really learning that lesson has been just a source of growth for me personally, when it comes to being a manager and a leader and, a quote unquote CEO, or it's CEO, because sometimes it can be so hard. So yeah, just learning those lessons and really giving them the space to share their expertise and actually honoring what you brought them onto your team for and acknowledging their ideas and their perspectives. That's been a big learning.
Yeah.
For me.
Is there a specific story that you can think of where it was a little bit challenging and then you were able to put your leadership pants on and move through it that you could share with us?
I had this one was probably the most awkward. I love the person still, but it was what came kind of the last straw that broke the camel's back or whatever that saying is I had a team member who was pitching our customers. So, that was a bit of a sticky situation. And that one was a hard one to deal with because it was so awkward because we really had come to like this person. And so when we found that out, it was a real lesson and just like a chance to step up into who I wanted to be. Yeah. And who I wanted to be was the exact opposite of who I had been, which was short-tempered, kind of combative. And it allowed me to step into a much more calm, sympathetic, chilled version of myself who just acknowledges like, okay, cool. I understand why you made that mistake and I appreciate you explaining it, but it no longer works for us. And we're going to have to ask you to leave the team. And it wasn't done in a way where there's animosity. We still talk to the person. It just, that was probably one of my biggest learning lessons when it came to team.
Yeah. And I talk about this, like, I'm famous for 5-minute fires with love, like releasing people and acknowledging, what they've brought to the table. And I know, our good friend, Nikki Elledge Brown, she talks about word pickles, and I'm always coming to her like, word pickle help. I need word pickle help of like how to do this and communicate it in a loving way, because our emotions and all of that stuff. Is there a leader that you look up to or, that you're trying to embody or inspired by? Yeah,
James Wedmore. I think I was in his mastermind last year, and my favorite part of his whole year-long mastermind, I told him this, is like, even though it was all around launch strategies and scaling and all this kind of stuff, what I learned the most from him was leadership and how he shows up for his team and the culture he's created and how his team goes all out for him. They're believers in his mission. To me, that's what I learned the most from him. He's so calm. He's so positive. He's so optimistic. He's so encouraging. He's so empathetic. I'm always looking to like, how can I get more? How can I embrace my inner Wedmore and show up as that kind of leader? Because the example he set was just bar none.
Yeah. And is there like something that you've implemented from watching him be in his leadership that you've applied?
The most concrete one would be starting to hire a local team. Mm-hmm. He has a mostly local team, and just watching how they all vibe together and their hangouts and like their relationships and dynamics and just like their energy. Like they got so much done in such a short amount of time. They're buddies, like they enjoy working together. Everyone's like pumped to go to work. That one impacted me in a big way. And so we've started to build a more local team. So we have our first person, her name's Nikki. She's our integrator. She's local. And then our second team member we just hired, we kind of like are rebuilding our team. So we kind of hit the reset button and are building this new one. And so Alicia, who's our second team member that we just brought on, she's about 5 hours away. So she's coming up on certain days, but like not as regular as Nikki, obviously.
That's awesome. And I think that, as we've been building these big online businesses, we're actually scaling back to the basics of like local face-to-face, like making eye contact with people, hugging people again. Like we can get so caught up behind our tiny screens with social media and webinars and all of that good stuff. So
preach it.
So, one thing that I was really fascinated by was just like, screw the 9 to 5, you help people leave their 9 to 5. And I'm curious, what was the first dollar that you made as an entrepreneur?
Oh, selling skincare cream on an affiliate site.
I love it.
An anti-aging cream called LifeCell that I had tested and shot this whole like video series around, like documenting my results. And their commission was, I think, $90. And we got that when we were traveling in Asia, actually. And it was like, what? It's actually working. And that was like a true example of money while you sleep, because we were in Asia and it was on EST. And so that commission came in while we were sleeping. And I was like, oh my God, it's not a lie. It actually can happen. So that was a cool moment.
And was there someone who inspired or influenced you to like, hey, let me try this thing where I make money online?
Yeah, Josh, my husband. Absolutely. I didn't even know it was a thing until I met him. At that time, I was chasing a career in TV, and I was modeling at the time. Hot tip, I had the lamest modeling career. So it wasn't hard to give up. But I had never even known that was a possibility. And he kind of opened my eyes to this whole thing. And that's where I got my start in affiliate marketing. Us together, actually, we both started the skincare site. So it's hilarious because Josh was trialing creams as well. And he was such a trooper. We've since sold the site, but like, I don't even know if they still have it up and running, but there's absolutely videos of Josh like trialing psoriasis cream.
Oh, we must find a video.
Thank God I didn't use his name in it.
That's awesome. So I know that you know, are a community builder at heart. You have a Screw the 9-to-5 community, which is the new.
Yes, I'm so creative.
And I'm just curious about that process of, you know, creating a new Facebook community, because that's what we were talking about at MMT was kind of, you know, building this big community and then just wondering how do I show up and continue to serve in a way that's aligned with you and your business.
Yeah. So I think when you and I were talking, well, I don't think I know. When you and I were talking at MMT, it was in May 2017. And at the time I had a group of over 45,000 people, which sounds like, yes, I totally want a group of 45,000 people, except it was draining. It felt heavy. It had lost the charm I initially intended it to have. And I think about 2 weeks after you and I chatted, I announced that I was closing it down to start a new one, hence the new Screw the 9-to-5 community. Because to me, communities are all about connection and they're all about engagement. They're not about numbers, right? So in my head, I could not care less that it had 45,000 people. I would have happily taken 4,500 people or even 450 people if it meant that that community kept the charm that I had initially started it with. So it was kind of a no-brainer after many of our chats around like really getting clear on what feels heavy versus light and really creating a not only business, but a community that feels right. So after you and I jammed on that a few times, that I made I finally just got real with myself and I was like, it's either that I burn this down and walk away or I hit the reset button and I start a new one from scratch. And so that's what I did. I announced in the group that I was closing it down. People thought I was insane. And I gave people a month to join the new one. And I just said, like, if you're going to come in, like there's stricter rules. This is the intention behind it. I only want the believers in there. I don't want people who are going to come in trying to pitch people, looking for clients, none of that. And like, obviously you're always going to get a few of those, but that's on you as a moderator and an admin and a leader to remove them or just on your team to remove them. And so that kind of like freed me up. And Nikki's so great at this as well. Like both you and her are fantastic permission givers. Like that's what I really love about chatting with you guys is you're always like, well, what feels right to you? And if I'm like, I hate it, I want to shut it down. You're like, well, then that's okay. Yeah. And the minute you are told that's okay, like you can do it the way you want, it's almost like this huge weight dropped off my shoulders and I just shut it down.
Did you have any fears, hesitations, and how long were you kind of in that limbo place?
Oh my God, months.
Yeah.
Because to anyone else, myself included at that time, I was like, I am insane if I close down a group that has over 45,000 people. Like it took me 2 years to build it and I put my heart and soul into it, blah, 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 blah. But then when I got really clear with myself, I was like, I hate going in there. It feels heavy. I'm constantly having to moderate like the threads. I'm constantly having to like diffuse situations in there. I was just like, it's a no-brainer. It's either I continue to be out of alignment and integrity, or I just make a hard call, which is typically hard calls usually feel like the best ones in the end, don't they? Like once you finally cowgirl up and make the call, you're like, why did I wait so long?
Yes. On the other side, it's like, exhale. You know what I love? I recently learned this from my friend, Michelle Long. She was talking about there's always a sacred third. Like there's a sacred third answer. So and I've seen a lot of people grow Facebook communities online and they're like, I either just keep it, you know, for the vanity metrics, but it's like killing my soul, or I shut it down. It's like this or that. And then what you found was a sacred third, which is like, you know what, I'm going to close this down, but it doesn't mean that I don't want a community to serve. I'm going to start a new one with a new intention and with clearer boundaries communicated up front so that people are clear of what's expected of them and how to show up in the space so that you can create that deeper connection.
For sure. And also, I've given myself the permission to, if I ever feel like I want to shut it down again, that's okay. Like, what got you here won't get you there, right? So if in a year or so, I'm like, you know what? I've been doing Facebook groups, free Facebook groups for 4 years now. I think I'm out of that phase of my life, then I know that that's an okay decision to make. Because we still have our paid community as well. Like, it's not like I'm all of a sudden not a community builder. I also have our paid monthly membership. So I'll always be able to build a community in that respect. So just allowing myself the grace to figure that out as I go along. Because I used to be so nervous around judgment. Like, oh my God, but I'm kind of known as this person who has a Facebook group and I have a product on it. So like, what does that mean if I shut it down? And like, what does that say about me? And am I out of integrity and blah, 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 until someone was just like, yo, stop taking yourself so damn seriously. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us take it so seriously. Like, if we do something that we said we weren't going to do a year ago or 2 years ago or 6 months ago, that somehow means we're like out of integrity or that we're just being these terrible entrepreneurs. But like, giving yourself the permission to like just learn as you go and like make the judgment call that's right for you at that time, I feel like that gives me so much just like peace. Yeah.
Permission to change your mind.
Boom. That's what it is. You have so much more of a succinct way of saying it.
I'm just deeply listening. So, a lot of people talk about, that they want to build community online, and both of us have been able to build big communities online. But I do believe that people don't have to build these huge, ginormous communities to make a difference and to make money. But I'm curious, what have been some key ingredients for you in building a community? And this can be the love and the logistical steps of doing that.
Number one is like to actually get to know your members. That's one of my favorite things to do, because here's the thing. There will always be members inside any community, paid or I was going to say P. That was like a combination of free and paid. So paid or free, that are really going to shine in there, right? They're going to take ownership. They're going to stand out. They're going to serve. They're going to help your other members. Those people, like, I always think it's so important to get to know your members so that when you do have these real stars pop up, you can help connect them to the other members who may not be as bold or outgoing or vocal inside the communities, and yet still feel like they're seen, heard, and acknowledged. You know what I mean? Like getting to know your members and like what they're there for and how you can help them. That is one of the best ways to serve any kind of community, because it's so easy for a community to become this faceless group of people just kind of like either hanging out or paying for it. But when you actually give a damn about what those people are there to do and accomplish and why they are yearning for that kind of connection, that helps to add a whole other layer to communities that just become like unbeatable.
So just to kind of paint the picture for everyone who's listening, is what would be your intention for your online community, and what's a question that you ask to really get to know them?
Well, it could be as simple as like, why'd you join? Or what are you here to accomplish? Or what's your business all about? Or, however that relates to your niche. So for me, it's like, tell us about your business, or tell us how we can support you, or tell us like a win you're looking to get and like how we can help you move you closer to it. Like, I'm always just trying to get to know them as an entrepreneur, as a person, so that if they're like, oh, I'm actually looking to learn more about Instagram marketing, just off the top of my head, I'd be like, sweet, you should absolutely connect with Elise Dharma, because she's our go-to Instagram girl in this community. Or if they're like, I'm looking to learn or find like a place to house my course, I'm like, awesome, you should absolutely connect with Michael Kelly, because he owns Member Vault and he's blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, I know these people or I'm an introvert and I'm just looking for ways to show up online. I'm like, awesome, you need to connect with Thea, because she's a coach for introverts. So like, the power of getting to know your members allows you to serve your membership as a whole or your community as a whole on such a greater level, because you're able to make those close-knit connections. And just like, I just feel like there's magic that happens when people feel like you've actually listened to them and that you've given a damn to actually remember what they told you. It's like when you meet that person at a party and you told them your name once and then you see them another time and they actually remember, you're like, oh, damn, you did really well remembering my name, which is shouldn't be a novelty, but we're all so busy that it's so commonplace where you're like, oh, I forget that person's name and I don't know them. Like, approaching your membership where you're actually taking an active interest, or your community where you're taking an active interest in these people and actually retaining that kind of information.
Yeah,
man, that kind of stuff is so powerful for communities. That's where the real closeness comes in.
And you know what I love about this is what people talk about when they're quote unquote networking or relationship building with people, and how they can just build relationships and get access to opportunities. Like, we do that from a peer-to-peer basis, but I really love how you're applying that into adding more value for the community that you serve. So you're creating these networks of opportunities and exchanges inside the community. I just think that's really beautiful. It's not like, I don't think a lot of people do that. And so that's really amazing that you are doing that within your community.
Thanks, Jeff.
And is there, in terms of building community, has there been like an oops moment that you can remember where you're like, ooh, that was a mistake, I won't do that again?
Oh my God, probably so many. I promoted a product back in early 2016, and I was teaming up with someone to do the bonus content. So her and I were in charge of doing it, and we promoted it. I pushed it so heavily, so publicly, and she didn't live up to her end. And so as people kind of bought in, they weren't actually given access to the thing we had promised them. So that was I've never felt my face feel so red in my whole life. And I just felt horrible. I really felt like, I just wanted to hide, especially when you have a big community like that. It really felt like I showed up at a big function naked.
Was there something that you did to kind of resolve
I talked to each person who messaged me about it. I talked to them individually and just said, here's the deal. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm so sorry. I just owned it. What can you do? Right? I had to own it. It sucked.
Yeah.
It really did suck. But that's when you have to show that you have, that they can still trust you.
Yeah.
That they didn't just waste their time with you.
Has there ever been a time where you've felt like you wanted to quit? Screw the 5?
Yes. All last year, all of last year, no word of a lie. And probably up until I had my son a few months ago, because I was just so overwhelmed with all of that. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it would be like to be a mom. I didn't know what's the word I'm looking for? The expectation around myself and how I show up. And how you said I'm a people pleaser, I very much am as well, I think. And so I was like, what will people think if I take a few weeks off to be a mom? And then I was like, why should I have to worry about what people think? And I hate this. And rah, 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 rah. I think it was just the pregnancy hormones.
Right. Yeah.
But I've absolutely felt like that. What would it look like if I just walked away?
Right. And what on the outside did your business look like? And then what was happening on the inside?
On the outside, I'm sure it looked like everything was normal. Yeah. On the outside, I can't even imagine there was a disruption to anything anyone would notice to be like, oh, damn, is Jill okay? But on the inside or behind the scenes, I was ugly crying, super stressed, not sleeping, just generally showing up with a whole lot of resentment. And I just probably wasn't fun to be around. Yeah. I was really stressed and just I would say the biggest word would have been resentful. I just couldn't get out of it. And I don't even know what changed it. Honestly, I think it was having Kai, truthfully, because he brought me so much joy and it took my mind off all of that. And now I'm like, what was I even complaining about?
Right.
I love this stuff and I believe in it. So that kind of the minute I took my focus off this incessant negative track I had going on in my head where I'm like, everything's ending. No one cares anymore. I don't care anymore. This sucks, blah, blah, blah. The minute I took my focus off that, it all just got so much lighter. Funny, eh? The minute you stop dwelling,
right,
things feel better. So,
you know what I love too is that you said you reconnected to your belief in what you're doing. And can you just talk a little bit more about how that unfolded for you?
Well, I think it was more so like I felt like a fraud because I was going through all of this, worrying to the max, feeling stressed, feeling resentful, and yet I was putting on a happy face. So I felt wildly unaligned. And so I feel like I've already forgotten your question. Can you restate it? Just going back to like how I felt terribly.
Yeah. I love you so much. How you reconnected to your belief, like, I believe in what I do. Like, I believe that I'm making a difference in people's lives, and we can get caught up in our own stories. And like you said, resentment or feeling burnt out, or like, I don't want to show up. Like, why does everyone want everything from me? To really connecting back to the why you started in the first place and that belief. And how did you reconnect and realign?
Well, unfortunately, it was an outside thing that really like snapped me back into shape. So our community held us a surprise virtual baby shower. And it was the sweetest thing. Like, one member said, "Oh, can we interview you? Here's the Zoom link we'll be meeting at. Make sure you're on time." And I was like, okay, first off, chill out. Like, I'll be on time. And then I was like 5 minutes late. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late. I said I wouldn't be. And so we sign on, and all of a sudden there's just like endless Zoom screens of people holding signs that says surprise. And oh my God, I almost cried. That really brought me back to it because it was right before Kai was born. And I was just like, all these people went out of their way to show up in the afternoon for a surprise baby shower when really they don't have to. Like, wait, that's going to sound callous. I was going to say they're customers. They're more than that. They're members, but like, they did not have to do that for Josh and I, you know what I mean? Like, they certainly didn't have to take time out of their day to like hang out on a Zoom link waiting for my slow pregnant ass to show up, you know?
Yeah.
So that really helped me snap out of that and be like, we're building a movement here. Like, what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
Why is this like such a chore for me right now? And yes, I know I was like 15,000 months pregnant at that point, but still I felt so selfish at that point because I was like, oh, woe is me. And then there's all these people who are just showing up in pure service and just rocking my world. It really helped me get recentered with it all.
What's really beautiful about that is the power of community. When you do something that's unexpected, you know, I talk a lot about surprising and delighting your community. And it's like, you do that for your community, and how beautiful that they were able to reciprocate that for you and actually replenish your love and your commitment to the movement and the transformation. And like, oh, there's humans' lives that are changing, and it's like just so much love. So I think that's really, really beautiful. And I know you've mentioned you're a new mama. And what's been really surprising to you about motherhood and business?
I honestly, I don't even know if this is appropriate to admit, but I was really, really scared I wasn't going to like it. Up all night worrying like, oh my God, I can't go back. Like, this is when I was about 38 weeks pregnant, right? So I was really stressed out, being like, what happens if I don't like it? Like, what happens then? And what happens if I don't get time to myself? Or what happens if this baby screams all the time? Or what happens if I hate this? Or what happens if the business suffers? You know, all these fears. What happens if the labor is intense and terrible? Hot tip, it was intense. It wasn't terrible though. And just like full of fear. And now fast forward, I mean, he's 14 weeks on Sunday and he is the light of my freaking life. He's so happy. He's so chill. He's brought me so much joy. I couldn't love anything more other than my husband. And he's made me want to show up in a bigger way in our business. Like, he just completed the whole picture. You know, I just love him to death. I feel like I'm obnoxious with how much I want to talk about him.
Yeah.
Post selfies of him. because I can't get enough of him. He's like the sweetest. He started squealing. Like he takes his receiving blanket and he like squeals into it. And I just sit there and laugh my ass off at him because I'm like, what are you doing? When did this start? Why are you doing it? Like he changes every day. And it's just like such a trip watching it.
Yeah. You know, it's so fascinating in when we have businesses and when we have relationships with people and we have kids, they're actually the reminders to pull us out of being so caught up in the business. And with you and Josh, you work in it. So you're both obsessed about the business success. So this other person that's like not attached to the outcome of how your business does can remind you and pull you into the present moment, to joy, to play. Because I call my husband my CPO. He's like my chief play officer.
I love that.
He's the one that like makes sure that I don't stay on my computer and, you know, see the sun. He's like, you're a vampire. And I almost look at like your little one as like, he's your CJO, like your chief joy officer, of just like
really is
bringing that back into perspective of like, this is what matters.
Totally. And he's pure joy. Like he's always smiling. He has no cares in the world except for milk and like changing his diaper.
Right.
But he, like, I feel like for the first month that he was born, I literally didn't even think about any of the heavy shit I was worrying about before. You know, he just he took my whole mind off everything. And I was just so present for the first time in my entire life, it felt like. Because I've struggled in the past to be present to the moment versus like, okay, yeah, that was great. What's next? Yeah. You know what I mean? And now I really, even during my delivery, like I really tuned into that.
Yeah.
It was a cool experience.
Can you paint the picture of what a day of working from home pre-baby looked like? And then what a day working from home post-baby?
So I'm way less go in the morning. I used to get up, go work out before I was pregnant. Let's keep it real. I didn't work out at all when I was pregnant. I went for walks and that's about it. So get up, work out, then had a coffee, then had a green smoothie, then sat at my desk for probably about 10 hours a day. Now I work about like 4 to 5 really solid hours, but I'm killing the game if I get on my computer before 10 because I just like, he's my morning now. I do want to go back to working out.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Kai, you're going to get the shaft soon, but yeah. So right now it's much more peaceful, less stressed, less go, much more like, let's snuggle for a minute.
Yeah. It's like slowing down.
Hugs over hustle.
Oh, I love that.
Just like how you're.
T-shirt. So I'm curious, you know, I know that your family is bringing you so much joy and perspective and slowing it down. But as you know, in business and the online world, it continues to speed up. Mm-hmm. So how are you and Josh, you know, keeping up with the ever-changing tides that seem to be in the online space?
Well, fortunately, because we have our 2 communities, free and paid, I get to keep my finger on the pulse pretty quickly because I watch people talk about, you know, what do people think about this? Or I'm struggling with this, or why does this keep happening? And so there's always common themes, right? Like, oh my God, Instagram stories are so hot. Oh, okay, cool. Maybe we should pay attention to that. Oh, my webinars aren't converting, or I'm thinking about going to Evergreen, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool. Maybe we should consider that. You know, like a lot of people talk about the trends and like the shiny objects. And so it allows me to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening right now because other people are talking about it. So I'm almost like learning through them as they're going through the motions. And then I get to Josh and I get to pick what resonates with us and kind of filter out what we actually want to try and then apply it with our team.
So what would be from a logistical perspective? So I can tell that you're like ear to the ground, you're doing love, which is listening and observing the common themes that are coming up. So you pull a couple of these themes and then what happens behind closed doors with you and Josh?
Well, yeah. So fortunately, thank God we have other people who help us out. Otherwise, him and I would probably battle. But it looks like mapping it out, getting kind of clear on what we actually do want to do. Like, are we complicating this? Do we have to do it? Is anything broken right now? Like, do we have to change up what's working, or are we just getting like fidgety? And then we jam with our team on like, what does this look like? How do we execute on it? Who's doing what? And how can we each own our own roles? So one of our biggest things is like, we hate micromanaging. I don't want to have to check up on people if they're doing their shit. I just want to know that they are and that they're doing it to the best of their abilities. So one of our favorite things is to just only work in our zone of genius. So for Josh, that's like training, strategy, and sales. For me, it's community, content, and voice. So this kind of stuff, coverage, visibility. For Nikki, it's project management, integrating, implementing all the things, managing our Facebook ads and running the team and the contractors and all of that kind of stuff. And for Alicia, it's customer support and community as well. So she helps me in the community. So we each own our own role. And that allows us to stay single focused and get things done even faster than if we were just kind of winging it and just being like, oh, that looks cool. Let's try this. Oh, that looks cool. Let's try this. Instead, we get to pull back for a second, take a 30,000 foot view and be like, what will this actually look like in our business if we were to execute on it and stay consistent with it? Because I think that's the biggest thing 6 months from now.
Yeah, no, I love that. Can you tell me about a specific time, something you planned in your business that didn't work out the way you expected?
Let's see. How many can I mention? Like, so many. Our first ever launch sold 0. So that was definitely one.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I ugly cried and day drank for 24 hours straight. So that's pretty much the story.
But how much time and energy did you put into this launch? And then what lessons did you learn on the other side? But it's like, you had an assumption, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like I had an assumption, like I'm going to make 6 figures in 6 months. That did not happen. So I'm just curious, like what was the expectation before launch 0?
Yeah, please. Okay. So we spent 3 months of our time and $5,000. Why anyone has to spend $5,000 creating a course is beyond me, but that's what we thought we had to do at that time. So this is back in 2013. We also created a course around guest blogging. So Badass Guest Blogging was the name, which should have been our first indicator it was going to do horribly. But we just devoted all of our time, single focus for 3 straight months on this program. And we were, we thought we were going to kill it. We were living in Thailand at the time, surrounded by a digital nomad community. And we were those cocky dickheads who literally thought we were going to kill it. And so I was like, oh my God, guys, we are going to make so much money off this. Like, watch us make 20K in a day. Dudes, 0 sales. Like, I literally felt so humiliated by it. I was like, oh my God, I will never, ever tell people that I'm going to make whatever in a day. I just wanted to crawl up into a little ball and hide for the rest of my life. Lesson learned there is like, ask people if they want that. We didn't ask anyone. We just assumed people would want to know about guest blogging because that's what we used in our first business to build links, drive SEO, drive organic traffic, and make money. So we're like, oh my God, if it worked for us, clearly everyone wants to know about it. No, very few people wanted to know about it. We also had built the wrong audience. So because the screw was so new at that time, we didn't really know what it was. So it was almost like a travel blog. And then we switched gears trying to sell this like guest blogging business course. And so we had built a list of travel bloggers who, no offense, travel bloggers, but most of them don't have money. And so what did we expect? And then the lesson was, let's start teaching what we actually know and what we have experience in. And that's affiliate marketing, because that was our first business. And so I sent an email out saying like, this is the direction we're going to go. I would love for you to join us on the journey, but this is where our expertise lies. And this is what we're going to be talking about from now on. And we just made a hard left turn after I had stopped crying and just hit the gas with it. That all happened at the end of 2013. And that was all implemented by like January 2nd, 2014. Like we hit the gas hard and just like never looked back.
You know what I love is that you made like a declaration out loud to the community that you built that was the wrong community for the direction that you wanted to move in. And you're like, here's where we're going. Come along for the ride. I don't think people do that
often enough to really own the pivot out loud. They're kind of scared. And so obviously you're probably scared, freaked out, all of that, but then you like mustered up of like, we got to tell people what we're doing and not be afraid to make that hard left turn. And I'm curious, after the ugly cry and like, crawling into your entrepreneurial cave, how did you manage your expectation of that success that didn't happen? Like, the setback of it, like, how did you actually move through that to get to like, okay, we got to cowgirl up and make a different decision?
Well, so one of my strong suits, I believe, is resilience. Like I can bounce back pretty quickly after I'm over something. And fortunately, like at that time, I didn't have long to wallow. We were like, we need to figure this out because time's a ticking and we need to make money. Yeah. So fortunately, we still had our affiliate sites at that time. So we still had some income coming because we hadn't sold them at that point yet. So we had a bit of grace. But it truly was like, what do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? The worst already happened, right? Like all my fears already came true. We hosted a launch that did nothing. I felt humiliated. I wondered if we could ever make it work. I got over it. We formulated a plan and we hit the gas. All we kept thinking is like, we have nothing to lose. We've already lost it. So, and also it just really, I don't like wallowing. I don't want to sit there and feel crappy every day.
Yeah.
I hate feeling unaligned and I hate feeling stuck. I love the feeling of momentum. I think it's like an entrepreneur's oxygen. So I was just eager to get it done. I'm a J on the Myers-Briggs, so I'm a doer. So I'm just like, give me a quiet room with a to-do list and leave me alone and I'll get it done. And that's kind of like what happened. We had nothing to lose. It was just Josh and I. We didn't have a team and we just got scrappy.
So how did launch number 2 go?
Oh, we pre-sold it. So it went really well. But truthfully, we pre-sold it. We said, here's what we're thinking of creating. At the time, it was a program called Lifestyle Affiliate. So it was teaching the process we had used to build up all of these affiliate sites. Because at the time, we had about 34 or so. And so we sold very much like the lifestyle aspect to affiliate marketing. And it's still very much my favorite form of revenue. Like, I love affiliate marketing. I love affiliate promotions. I love affiliate income. It's so high leveraged. It feels spacious to me. There's not a lot of fulfillment on your end. Like it's a pretty, how everyone's like passive income doesn't exist. It kind of does though. It's just, it takes a bit of work in the beginning to actually get it to that point. So yeah, we pre-sold it. I think we did like 5K off the first one. And then we launched it and did like another 5K there. And then we learned our lesson there and we're like, let's pre-sell everything.
Yeah.
So when we went to go sell Screw You, we pre-sold that as well. We ran a webinar. We did a whole presentation, gave mad value. And then we just pitched our idea. And we said, if you're willing to come along and take a risk on us, here's what we're looking to create. It's called Screw You. At the time, it was a one-off product sold for $1,000. So we pre-sold it at 500, made 11K off that, and we hit the ground running.
I love that. One, I love that there was launch 0. Yeah. And then you're like, launch 2 is like 5K. I just think that people don't realize the progression of experience and feedback that we think that we have to go out the door running and making 6 figures in 6 months, which is what I thought. It's like, there's a little bit of more nuance and a little bit more work up front, as you mentioned, that has to happen, but you build over time. And are you open to sharing kind of what has been your biggest launch?
Mm-hmm. So one, we did a program called Addicted with our ads manager at the time. Her name was Amanda Bond. And myself, Josh and Bond were all partners in it. And we did 110, I think it was profit. So we didn't really know what to expect because it was a new product. We didn't know if people would like it. So I think we kind of played small or at least conservative. So we only spent like $3,500 in ads because they're like, I don't know. It was a $200 product with a boot camp option. But yeah, it did 110 profit. So
That's awesome.
that was like, and that was our first moment where we had experienced everyone working in their zone of genius. So Bond was doing the ads and the training. Josh was doing the training and the strategy and the automation and the tech. And I was doing all the content. None of us crossed each other's lanes. It was just like magic. It just flowed so nicely. And I kept saying to both of them at the time when the launch was going and things were cranking, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. Like, I feel like something needs to be, I feel like I didn't do something because this feels way too easy. But it was just when you're in that moment of flow. That's always been something I've tried to recreate since then. Like, how do I get that feeling of flow back?
I love that you felt that sense of ease when everyone was in their lane. And I think that's the thing that we don't talk about enough, of how important it is to have team in place. You know, if I think about with Simple Green Smoothies, it was like 2 part-time stay-at-home moms, we equal like 1 full-time job. You know what I mean? Like there's this, if you don't have a business partner, then you do have to find other people that complement your strengths, you know, and fill in those holes to get things out there and ship it a lot quicker. Otherwise you're going to get caught in your own feedback loops and you don't have any, you know, outside perspective to push it forward. And for me, I'm an ENFP, so I need all the J's. I need all the J's. Who loves a checklist?
I
do. So I know, you know, something that you're super proud of and I'm super inspired by is your membership community. And I'm curious if you can share a little bit about that and what's been surprising about creating a membership community, and when did you decide to go membership route? Because it's my own selfish curiosity of, you know, I'm exploring that route. We talked about it over lunch in Vancouver, but I'd be curious to hear that transition and what's been surprising about that.
Well, actually, we made that decision based on our free community. To be honest, I had asked people, I'd just done a poll and said, like, what would you rather have, a one-off product for $1,000 or a monthly membership where you pay like $50 a month? And the overwhelming majority of people were like $50 a month. And so that's how we came to have a membership site, because we were so sick of starting at square one every month. Like, that's the worst feeling to me. It's like, oh crap, how do we beat last month's numbers? Whereas a membership, you have that recurring revenue. It allows you to feel a bit more comfy. It's predictable. You can plan for it. You know what your expenses are. The thing that surprised me is it's a lot more work than you think. Like the behind the scenes element of it, at least for us, because I feel like we offer a lot in there. It's a lot of work, or it's not a lot of work. It's just a lot of moving parts. Like we have a weekly live call, and we have all our courses, and then we have the community element, and then we have Pomodoro rooms, or like co-working Zoom rooms, and we have a live event. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot in there. We have the Screwconomy, which is a spreadsheet where everyone can list their like services or products or offers because they love working together. Or just then like diffusing situations if people are having a bit of a spat or something like that, which very rarely happens. But you put hundreds of people together, there's bound to be like, you lose context in text, right? So people take it the wrong way, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more on the back end of things than we ever expected, but that doesn't mean we don't like it. It's just that was our biggest surprise with it.
Yeah. So what does your team look like in order to maintain the membership community?
So like I said, we just hit the reset button on our team. So we're now rebuilding it. So we have Nikki and Alicia. So they are our go-tos. They're our like A players. But then we have Lanny, and she's tech and billing support. And then we have Eric, who does a lot of our graphics. So we keep it pretty lean. We're, at least for now, we do want to get like someone to do content, because I write so much, it's insane. And I just hate the sound of my own words lately. And I would love to have a social media person, and Josh would love to have a tech person. And, you know, like the minute you were like, oh, I would also love to have someone who does this. But right now we're pretty lean and mean.
So just say you have those magical people come in, social media, tech, then what do you do with your time?
Enjoy the space. One of my big intentions lately, especially after becoming a mom, is I very much want to feel like my business gives me space. And for a long time, I guilted myself over that, being like, but surely I have to show up for these people 24/7 because they're paying me each month. But that's really damaging because that's how I became so damn resentful.
Yeah.
Is I just sacrificed my own happiness to the tune of like helping one person who eventually canceled anyways. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'd be like, I just spent all that time helping that person. Rah, 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 rah. So really allowing myself the space and the compassion and the grace to take it at my own pace and take a day off on a Wednesday if I need it to hang out with my son and literally do nothing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the business I want to build.
I love, we kind of brought back in that it's that people pleasing, the overgiving that can kind of steal that space from us when it's like, oh, I could just step back just a little bit.
And no one complains.
Right.
I've showed up way less, but in a more quality way inside Screw You since I had Kai, because my time is much different now. And not one person has complained about it. You know what I mean? Not one person's been like, oh my God, Jill isn't in here as much as she used to be. Like, how self-centered was I to think that people would even A, notice that, and B, care? You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, it just surprised me.
I think that is the power in building community, that it's actually not about you. It's about them connecting with each other and finding the other people that are like-minded and are building something similar. And if we can like get out of the way of that, and I get caught up in that swirl as well, as like, I know my superpower is gathering like-minded people, but then I'm like over managing of like, is everybody happy? Is everyone taken care of? Like, what do you need? Da, da, da. And it's like, and then that's where the burnout, the overwhelm can come from, when they weren't even asking for that. They're like, thank you for bringing us together. You did your job.
Yeah. And I think you so hit the nail on the head. Like, one thing I think I've done heaps over my entrepreneurial career so far, at least, is sacrifice my own happiness for other people's. And that did nothing but burn me out and just steal the joy out of our business, because then I would get super resentful, even though I was the one who did it. Yeah. I was the one who put that pressure on myself. I was the one who set those expectations for myself. I was the one who said, you have to show up every day inside the community, otherwise people will leave. Not one single member has ever told me that. It is all these crazy beliefs I had around giving in order to keep people happy. And that's so not even close to what has been shown to be true in my experience of having a membership site.
Yeah. And, for someone who is similar to that, including myself, what's the shift that you're choosing to make now to create a more clearer boundary so that the joy and the presence and the love stays there?
Boundaries. Like, truthfully, giving myself the space and the compassion to just like peace out for 5 days if I need it, or not worry about how I say things or how I show up, or just giving myself a little bit of love, truthfully, is what it comes down to. I feel like maybe it was a self-worth issue. Maybe it was a fear of judgment. I don't know. But it absolutely always centered around that. It's like, just the pressure I put on myself. It was just out of this world.
Yeah. I can raise my hand to all of that.
And I'm not over it.
Yeah.
Like, I can speak about it, but I'm certainly not, I haven't nailed it yet. I still struggle with that. I absolutely still struggle with the fear of judgment or people canceling, even though, hello, that's the game of membership sites. I still struggle. I still think, oh my God, did I say the right thing? You know what I mean? I still do that. I don't know if I'll ever stop. Hopefully I do, but I guarantee I'll get off this and be like, should I maybe have not been so damn honest?
Vulnerability hangover.
Yeah, so true.
No, I can say that what you've shared has been so beautiful and true. And I'm sure everyone is like nodding heads. Yes, I'm nodding my head. Yes. And that's what connection and love is all about, is like, we're not in this alone and we're not the only ones feeling that way. But for some reason, we create this story that we're the only ones dealing with this shit, you know? And it's just not true. And when we can start to be more open and honest about what it really takes and what's really happening behind the scenes, then people can opt in or opt out to the path of entrepreneurship, you know? And I think we're just not being honest enough about those conversations. And then that's the path of just really being committed to that. And I always say I'm in it for the journey. Like, it's messy, but I love problem solving. So it works out just great because there's always a problem to solve and there's always a way to help more people. So I really appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. And before we wrap up, I would just love to know, what's your why now? Like, what's pulling you forward? What's this vision for the future for you, for Screw the 9 to 5, for all the beautiful things that you're building?
I want it to be the #1 lifestyle brand for entrepreneurs. I very much want to bring a fun, funky, fresh, cheeky vibe to, I want to be a household name alongside like the Entrepreneur magazine kind of spiel, but young and cheeky and fresh and creative and original and talking about more than just making money. I'm so sick of talking about just how to make money online. I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about, okay, so I said I'm sick of talking about money, but I want to talk about like investing money or like how to make your money work for you instead of you always working for it. Mindset stuff, health, like burnout, all of that kind of stuff. I want to start talking about the other aspects to entrepreneurship other than just making a few bucks online, because that gets really freaking boring really fast. And I think that's probably also something that led to me just feeling a bit like meh last year. Was I felt like everything was hinging on our ability to help people make money. And that's a whole lot of pressure. And when you pull back from it, once you have made some money, because let's keep it real, if you can make $1 online, you can make 100. If you can make 100, you can make 1,000. If you can make 1,000, you can make 100,000, blah, 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 blah. And once you start making that money, there's so many other layers to this whole journey. You know what I mean? Leadership, team building, your own mental game, all of that kind of stuff, family, your spouse, so much stuff, relationships, friendships. I've had a friendship end last year that I very much regret. She was a fantastic friend of mine and I'm like seriously mourning that loss, but it came at the price of this whole journey we're on. That kind of stuff. I want to talk about that stuff more. I want to talk about the unsexy side of it.
Yes, yes. And that's what leading with love is all about. It's not just about the numbers. There's a whole human experience happening in this. And I just love you so much for taking a stand for that and for like being able to be open to, you know, leading people into having the deeper conversation of like what's going on underneath that and us being able to unhook our self-worth from our net worth. You know?
I think I'm still working on that. If I'm being totally honest, like money is so emotional, right? Like when you have it, you're like, I'm the king of the world. And when you don't have it, you're like, do I even deserve to be talking about this? Like, who am I? Right? Like, it's such a mental game, this whole money side of things. Yeah. I mean, I almost just want to talk about the messy side of things because I don't think enough people are talking about it. And I feel really unaligned when I'm just trying to put on this polished, perfect exterior. Yeah. It doesn't feel like myself. And one thing I've always prided myself on is being myself. Like that was always one of my superpowers is I never like put on a facade. And I feel like just the bigger your brand gets, you almost, at least myself, I've almost put the pressure on myself to be like, but I have to be perfect because we're supposed to be quote unquote experts. Yeah. And that just feels heavy AF. And I'm ready to nix that as well.
You know what I love? I interviewed Denise Duffel Thomas and she said that
she's literally one of my favorite people. I don't even know her.
What I love is she said she's not trying to be an expert in money mindset. She's just trying to be a contributor to the conversation. And I think that is, you know, we don't have to be so expert. We're just contributing to the conversation. And I think that's something that you and Josh do really beautifully. You guys are very real and raw on your podcast. If you guys haven't listened to their podcast, check it out. They talk babies, they talk business, they talk bottom lines, they talk all the things,
all the bees.
all the things, all the bees. So I would love to know if there's anything that you'd love to share with our listeners that you haven't gotten to share yet before we say goodbye. And I don't want to.
I know, I don't want to. I'm like, can we just stop recording and then like have a therapy session? Well, truthfully, I would just love for people to come hang out in our free Facebook group. So that's screwcommunity.com. Or if you do want to check out Screw You, it's joinscrewyou.com. And that's just you, not YOU. So I'm not saying like, screw you, Jada. It's Screw University, essentially. So joinscrewyou.com.
I love it. I love it. And if you guys, I'm actually going to be speaking.
Oh, yeah. How did I not pimp that?
I'll pimp myself. I'm going to be speaking at Screw You Live.
Yes.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely I'll put all links into the show notes so people can check them out. But if you want to see me live in Vancouver, Canada.
Holla. I'm so excited about that.
Well,
basically, I'm just going to corner you in a corner and be like, can we have a deep conversation again every single night?
Yes. Can we just have a slumber party?
Yes. Sorry, Josh, I'm not staying overnight anymore.
Yeah.
I'm staying at Jada's.
Yes, I love it. Well, I love you to pieces. And I know everyone who's been listening has just been nodding their head. And I just appreciate the joy and the energy and the creativity that you do bring to sharing your voice online and in the world. And I'm thankful to call you friend.
Oh, right back at you, sister. Thank you so much for having me. I loved this conversation.
Yay. Thank you so much for your heart and attention in listening to Lead with Love. If this message, leading with love in life and business, and remembering the humans and beating hearts behind the numbers and all of that good stuff, I would love for you to take the time to leave an honest review. It would mean the world to me, and it also helps more people find out about the goodness and helping spreading more love in the world, which we really, really need. So I would really appreciate that, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.